I actually need your guys' take on this, because I don't know if I'm in the wrong or not. So I did a quiz. I love these quizzes on YouTube, and I've kind of given away the answer now because I made a comment about it because people weren't happy. It's what happens when a Daggerheart player character tries to move in combat without attacking or attempting anything. Do you see this? Now, my intention here was they're in combat, meaning they're under pressure. That was my main intention. I posted this. It was a bit of a gotcha because I know a lot of people out there don't realize that this is a rule. And it was like, what happens if Daggerheart player character tries to move in combat without attacking or attempting anything? What I kind of really should have said is, can you, rules as written, move without taking an action roll is really the situation. Now, rules as written, you could argue you can do whatever you want. Like, it's up to the GM and follow the fiction and don't rely on the rules. Obviously, in this scenario, this is about the rules as written now. And 76% of people got it wrong. And in fact, 86% of people got it wrong. And it blew my mind a little bit because I wasn't expecting that, but also the reaction from people. I could have sworn the second one was the correct one. The correct answer is absolutely misleading here. And I was trying to figure that out because I'm like, is it? I think the wording on this one is a bit confusing. Character moving and doing nothing is giving away a golden opportunity, so none of the above. This rule is complicated as written. It says you can move up to close range and make an action roll, or attempt to move farther in agility roll. If you just move and do no action, you must make an agility roll. Yeah, that's what it says. And then they say, in my games, I do this. And that's fair. You can do whatever you want. At first, I strongly disagreed with this. It took me a bit to understand the explanation, and I think I finally get the rationale. So I think what happened was people came in, it was a fun quiz. They thought they were confident they knew how Daggerheart worked. They clicked a button, it said incorrect. And you can't, these quizzes are great because you can't change your answer. It's just in there now. And I think people were just kind of embarrassed. And then their reaction was, this is misleading. There's a few, look, I don't know offhand if it's official, but I blank, blank, blank. I agree with option 3 being correct raw. Yeah, that's the point. Definitely not how I understood it. Like many others posting, I too thought it was 2. For me, I do this. I thought you could move close range for 3, but any further is an agility roll. 3 is just the second half of 2. I don't get that one. I feel the second answer is correct. The second answer is the correct one. I'd say 2 is more correct than 3. Now, the explanation is from the core rulebook, where if you are under pressure and you are trying to move, reposition, if you are not already making an action roll, or if you want to move further than close range, you'll need to succeed on an agility roll to safely reposition yourself. The GM sets difficulty depending on the situation, and then it's got more information there. And then I felt bad because people were like genuinely, these comments were genuinely like, I don't know, I felt bad about it. So I went in and explained it, my reasoning. And I could still be wrong here because so many people have clicked on another thing here and told me I'm wrong. That now I'm like, am I wrong? Have I misunderstood? But if you take out the middle bit here of if you're not already making an action roll, if you take out or if you want to move further, what you get is if you're not already making an action roll, you'll need to succeed in an agility roll to safety reposition yourself. That's the actual rule when you simplify it. And I get that it's like a little bit complicated, but it's not a trick that people seem to think it is. It's simply, if you are going to reposition and you're not already making an action roll, you'll need to succeed on an agility roll. So yes, if you are moving within close range and not doing anything, rules as written, if you're under pressure, you need to roll for it. I then went on to say, as always, if your table deems something easy enough that a roll isn't necessary, then there's no need to roll. But that's the same with the whole game. Even attacking someone, if you have a player who wants to attack someone and the fiction is like, you'll attack them. They're sleeping, You're not going to struggle attacking and hitting this person. Don't roll for it, just allow it to happen. But the big reason why this is important, I think, is that it's really good for avoiding potential cheesing of the movement mechanics. So I've heard a lot of people criticize Daggerheart because they're like, oh, you can just move like 30 feet, no problem. And you can just keep moving and you never have to roll. And therefore you never give the GM a spotlight. And it's just not true. If a GM is allowing a player to move their character without rolling, that is an exception. And it's usually because, and I think it's fair, and I do it, it's usually because they think in this moment you would be able to move without anything happening. You just would be able to, but it's definitely the exception that I think is going to become very common. As always, take what works at your table and what doesn't. And if you still think I'm wrong, let me know. Reference the raw rule book, the core rule book. Just because I want to know if anyone's got any information that is like proving me wrong here, I'd love to know. I'm going to keep it real with you, Phil. I liked and voted randomly purely for the engagement. Well, 850 people have voted in this, so it's kind of crazy. It's misleading. I can explain why. Okay, Xanthus, I'd love to hear why. I think people just didn't see the one line in the book where it mentions this. I think that's true. I think that's what happened, Acronite. And then I think they're just like, no, it's not true. I had a few comments that were like, well, Matthew Mercer lets them just move in Age of Umbra, so you're wrong. I'm like, no. This is raw we're talking about. So the up to close range bit is specifically part of the movement as part of an action. If their action is undefined, then you are performing no action. If performing no action or movement is your action, the rules say you must roll an agility roll. If performing no action or movement, well, hold on. Let me start with, so up, you say, so the up to close range bit is specifically part of the movement as part of an action. But here it's saying if you're moving, where does it say that in the core rulebook? Scientists, let's actually break it. Rather than just arguing, we can actually look this up properly and get to the bottom of it. And don't forget, this is specifically under pressure in combat that we're talking about here. My question to you, Scientist, is, do you believe that rules as written, right? Forget everything else. Rules as written, do you believe that a player character can move close range, 30 feet, and then pass the spotlight to another player and they can move 30 feet, and then they can pass that spotlight to another player and they can move 30 feet, and then they can... Do you believe they can do that? Or do you think that they would need to roll an agility roll under pressure to move 30 feet to avoid getting attacked by someone, a straight arrow, rough terrain, tripping them up, anything like that? The spicier take is that I would argue that any movement outside of the execution of the action is normally not legal in that spotlight. I'm not sure what you mean by act. So when you roll in Daggerheart, you are rolling to accomplish something, to succeed on something. Do we agree on that? So in Daggerheart, if I want to move my character 30 feet and attack someone, I am rolling to see if they succeed on moving 30 feet and attacking someone. You're rolling to see how the whole thing succeeds. And you roll based on kind of the biggest part of it, which is the attack. So you roll to see the attack. If I just wanted to move up to 30 feet to glare at someone, I'm trying to roll to succeed on moving 30 feet to glare at someone. If you are trying to do something under pressure in a situation where you don't know if it will succeed or not, and it can be anything, movement, it can be attacking, it can be trying to communicate with someone in some way. If something could go wrong, you roll to find out. 3 seems weird at first, but having the roll affects many things. Hope and Fate Generation, no roll means adversaries have to use more spotlights to just get closer and not stack. Yeah, I think it depends on your definition of under pressure. Well, look at it like this, guys. This isn't true. This one's not true. They cannot move within close range for free, right? We can agree on that one. So I know, it's a funny argument to get into, and I understand why people are annoyed that they got this wrong. I think if you spend time with this, there's only one correct answer, which is they roll to see if they can move successfully. It's even more complex than most. If you're not doing anything, then make an agility. If you're moving as part of doing that thing, you can move up to close range. Right. Okay. Wait, Scientist. Okay. I'm starting to understand. What you're saying is that you can move for free if they roll for something else, is what you're saying. But I say specifically what happens when a Daggerheart player character tries to move in combat without attacking or attempting anything, right? So does that not cancel what you're saying? So they're not going to roll for anything else. There are times when I was just let the whole party move on one spotlight without a roll. It depends on the fiction, but it can feel really good to keep. Yes, totally. I'd actually go as far to say that 99% of the time, you wouldn't do this. I think for me, I will let other characters kind of do little things. So I'll even let them like, oh, it's this person's spotlight, I'm attacking this guy, can I move 30 feet? I'll allow that to happen. Or can I just hex that guy while he's doing that? Yeah. I'll let you do it, but only if the combat is like, it really does depend on the vibe of the combat. And you know what? I even think to a certain extent, it depends on my mood. It just depends on my mood, which is not something you can really say in D&D because it's a jerk thing to say. But if I'm feeling it spicy and I think the combat should be more challenging, I won't allow it. If I'm not too bothered about this combat, I'll allow them to do it. I think we should normalize that. Normalize vibe-based decision making. Just joining, but I remember I totally got this wrong. Marcus, I'm glad. My issue is that people are telling me I'm wrong. Or that I misled them. That I tricked them in some awful way. The other part, just because you have to roll to move 5 feet doesn't mean that roll has to be hard difficulty. It just leaves the opportunity open for something to happen. I agree. Yeah, I agree. And then the issue is not specifically the movement. It can be, but as it says here, on a failure, you might only be able to move some of that distance. The adversaries might act before you can make it, or a hazard might prevent you from moving at all. So it's not like, oh, I need to roll to see if I can move 10 feet. It's more like you are right next to an adversary. There's no opportunity attacks here, but if you're going to try and just move 10 feet and not do anything else, then they might swipe at you and hit you, and you can still move. Like, you could fail with fear and you could still do the movement, but you just got swiped at. You could also, as I said before, you could step into into a trap or something like that while you move 10 feet, and that's what's caused the issues. And you might only be able to move some of the distance, so you roll and you only make it halfway there. So there's a lot of stuff in there that you can kind of do. It's not just specifically, do I need to roll to move? And that argument on this, I could take. Like, what happens when a Daggerheart player tries to move in combat without attacking or attempting anything? But I don't know, I think this is cut and dry. I do. My thought is, if in combat, what are you rolling for exactly? I'm not rolling for walking, but maybe rolling to run without the monster biting my head off. Yeah. Or even sometimes, depending on the game and how much you want to get into roleplay, if you're fighting a terrifying demonic creature and you want to move closer to it, are you just overcoming some kind of inner turmoil with your character? Are you like, if the place is on fire and you have trauma from your childhood home burning down, then maybe the fire is going to like make it harder for you to move 20 feet in that moment. Maybe your legs stand still and freeze up and you can't move. And it's situations like that where it's really nice to hand that back over to the players to describe why. It's like, okay, I'm going to make you roll. Oh, you failed, so you don't actually move. Why do you think you couldn't make it? Why do you think your character did not make the full movement? And the player would come up with something really freaking cool, I bet. Like, that is really good for character development for them. And you are right, yeah, it wouldn't be an agility roll anymore. You'd have to like come up with something else. But it's a cool thought. What if I want to passionately make out with the bandit I'm fighting consensually? No roll needed, Carl. No roll needed. You do it, and you're a fantastic kisser. Maybe the question to ask is, why are they moving but not doing anything else? That is, actually, Marcus, you've nailed it. That's the best question. Because if they are genuinely just like, I feel like I'm just too far away from the fight, and I'm not in any danger, and I'm not in range of anything, so like, even if I took a spotlight, I wouldn't, if they're like that, can I get a little bit closer? Absolutely, that's a good reason. If they are like, I want to run away from the fight, but I don't want to ever roll and give the spotlight back to the GM, then that's a bit cheeky, you know? No, I won't allow it. You can run away from the fight, but only if you roll. Give me a roll. When players move, it's always to accomplish something, to create some distance to position behind an object X, and that is always either under pressure or not under pressure. It's just a weird question to ask, I guess. Well, the reason it was asked was because a lot of people think you can just move for free, and I've seen criticisms from GMs saying they do not like that fact, and because this little rule has kind of like been lost a little bit. I think the people didn't see the without doing anything else part that made this a quick question. Well, the information's there. I think free actions are fine if you do them before some other action roll, like drink 1 potion and attack. Yes, yeah. Like I said, I like to think of it as a full spotlight situation that you're rolling for. And I know that can be confusing because why would you roll a strength roll to drink a potion? But if you are drinking a potion and then pushing a big heavy boulder in the same spotlight, that would be the strength roll for the boulder. But really what you're rolling is for everything. So that's kind of how I see it. But I personally have ruled it that, for example, a player, I think we've talked about this before as well. I in my games, I like the idea of being like, a player has to move 5 feet to stab someone. And they tell me, here's what I want to do. I want to run up to the guy, stab them, and then run back, right? That's what I want to do. I want to run up to the guy, stab the guy, and run back. And I think probably rules as written, you're right, scientist, they can't do that. The action is you're running up and stabbing the guy, because it's just too much otherwise. Otherwise, where does it end? You know, I want to do this, and this. I want to up and stab the guy 32 times and then run back. So, well, you can do it once. So I do get that, but I would allow that because in my mind, that's small enough to be like, oh, that's your action. Run up, stab, run back. Let's roll to see if you succeed. Now, I don't think there is any issue at all if they want to attempt something that you're like, it's unlikely you could do that. If you want to run up to them, stab, and get back, this man you're stabbing is like a martial arts expert, and they will most probably try and stop you from moving back. If that's the case, I would just increase the difficulty for that roll. I would just look at whatever the enemy's difficulty is and say, here's what we're going to do, player. I'm going to add a +2 to their difficulty, and this is going to be with disadvantage. Do you still want to attempt it? And I think that's fine as well. But I still stand by this. This is the thing. I still stand by. I have not tricked anyone or manipulated anyone here. This is all above board. By the same token, movement might not always be agility rolls, yeah. If you're in a social encounter and you want to move closest to the MacGuffin and you want to grab it, it might be a presence roll, yeah. Or finesse, you know. If you're in a room full of traps, it might be that you want to move across them fast. That might be a control situation. Is the vibe-based decision affected by 1 or 2 drinks by the GM? It is. The vibe-based decision making is affected by how hard my week has been. There's no one of those questions where people are thinking of it in terms of 5e and it's just apples and oranges. I think what people could have a go at me at, and I did do it, is that I did set this up for failure. And I did use wording that was very 5e coded. But I wanted to draw attention to the fact that this is the case and that people were thinking about it wrong. I also spent a long time trying to word this in a way that I didn't reveal the answer, but was still legitimate. Because I just knew that a lot of people out there just didn't know about this. It's not that I tricked them or anything. They just did not know about this, and they just thought they could just move willy-nilly. And I've heard people say it's a badly designed system because of that, right? So that was my intention. It was to call out people like that. Yes, you got me. But I really do think that in a court of law, this holds up. In a court of law, this quiz holds up. And the people telling me that I'm wrong, they're the ones who are wrong. Unless anyone can give me like very specific text that says otherwise. But no one's been able to do that. So I'm with your ruling that gives me a roll, but I'm against the question because you can't actually take the spotlight and not attempt to do anything with it. Otherwise, they didn't actually take the spotlight. Oh, I see, Scientist. Are you a lawyer? I see. Okay. No, Scientist. No, I'm not going down. I'm not playing your game of word riddles because I think eventually you will win, but it won't be because I'm wrong. It's because you're just better. Better with words than me. I would see moving for free as a golden opportunity. I found, Daggerheart, you really have to change your understanding about turns versus spotlight. It's not just using movement and action plus bonus action, and that's hard not to think about. Yeah. I still do it all the time. I mean, you guys will hear me say stuff all the time, which is so D&D coded. It's a slow process. But yes, good faith in terms of Daggerheart mentality. If you're trying to game the system to move for free and avoid giving spotlight, that's not playing the game in good faith. Yeah, and I actually think there's a few... It's within the design. I think probably initially they were just like, players can just move, because why are we going to bog things down? And then they probably discovered in internal playtesting in the early days of Daggerheart that people could take advantage of this. So they put in safeguards. And I think there's a few places, a few times these safeguards exist, and it's there to just put like a little cork on things that could get out of control. And that's the thing what we talked about earlier about the conditions, using a spotlight to clear them or rolling to clear them. I think that is another fail-safe. And the things that you once as a GM you play a lot, and if you play with experienced players who are playing the game in earnest, it'll never come up because I rarely think players will be trying to move without taking an action unless there's a very specific reason for it. Once you're playing with the right table. And like these little rules, and I'm sure there's more. I'm sure I'll think of more as well. But yeah, these little rules, these little paragraphs, they're just there to like. Another one is, so this is the rule I think I see the most people that they're not aware of. And the other one, and it's less now, I think it's more common knowledge, is the fact that you can only spotlight one adversary per GM turn, you know? Like people, certainly new GMs who come in think they can just like make every adversary go. Oh, sorry, it's that, like one adversary per turn. Like you can't keep spending for on the same adversary unless it says otherwise. And the other thing is new GMs like don't realize that they can spotlight others, you know? Something I've really drilled into my players' minds. Start and end with the fiction. Start by describing what you do, then I'll convert it to mechanics, then we'll narrate what happens in fiction. Yes. I like to call it a sandwich. I like to call it a delicious mechanics sandwich. The mechanics are in the middle, but you only refer to the mechanics when you have a narrative reason to, and then you translate the mechanics back into narrative out. It's input output, right? It's like a freaking Minecraft machine. Like you put fiction in, the mechanics figure out what happens next, and then it pumps out fiction at the end. Vice-based decisions are hard for me because I GM for my wife and things can get too meta. Yeah, I'm lucky. So I don't know if this is true. My players might say something different, but I've had players, newer players, who have played with a lot of other DMs, who have played D&D with a lot of DMs. When they play D&D with me, they're often like, "You're a really nice DM. You're a really nice DM," and they almost say it like a bad thing sometimes. Like you're really nice. And I had one player do this not too long ago, and it really got me thinking about how other DMs operate. What happened was they'd just done a huge fight. They were in like a laboratory and they were asking if there was any loot around. And I gave them some loot, gave them some money, gave them some like ideas of what could be around. Like, it's a laboratory, so here, have health potions. And one of the players said, "Just so you know, DM, what I would really like is this particular kind of weapon." It wasn't a special weapon. It wasn't a magical weapon. It was just a different, common, basic weapon that they would rather use for their character than they currently had. And they were like, "So I would really like one of those." And I just said, "You know what? Also on the floor of the laboratory, one of the guards you just killed had one of those weapons. It's yours." And they looked at me like I had just given them $1 million. They couldn't believe it. And I guess they've played with DMs in the past. Nothing wrong with this. It's probably a lot of fun, but they would always make you work for something. So if you want something, you've got to go into town and find it and roleplay and stuff. And I was just like, "No, you can have that because I don't want to do all that." We're like at the end of the session, like that's your reward. It's not going to give you any real benefit outside of flavor. And that's when they were just like, "You are so nice. That's so crazy that you did that." And it always stuck with me. I'm like, what are the other GMs doing? But my shtick is, and my players who have played with me for a while will know this, that I'm overly nice so that when it's time to be mean, A, I just get to be mean for free because I've been so nice earlier, and B, it's like a double whammy hard. It's like oof. It's it's the juxtaposition. So if you are playing, if it's the BBEG and it's a big fight, I'm not holding punches. And I can do that because I've been so nice in the past. And that's kind of how I operate. So yeah. And what triggered that, Maurice, was when you said that I was smirking. And it's true. It's true. I do give a little evil guy smirk. Even when I'm doing nice things, people are sometimes like, "He's planning something because he's smirking." I'm like, "No, I'm just being nice. I'm just being nice." I think movement is just something people don't pay too much attention to. And the thoughts how it works are taken from other games, yeah. Yeah, and you know what? I'm not going to like sit here and just say like everyone should know this stuff. The core rulebook, and this was one of my only criticisms of the core rulebook when I reviewed it. Love it. One of my favorite TTRPG books ever made. It does have some rules that I think are important, that are hidden away or organized in a weird way, that you can miss these things, or they're worded in a weird way. Like, I do think this is worded in a weird way. And I think part of this issue is when people are saying like, "You tricked us, the wording's weird, like we don't know." I think they may think that I wrote this, but I didn't. This is the core rulebook. So this is rules as written. Direct quote from it. But yeah, there's definitely like, it was one of my only criticisms of this book, the organization of it, and sometimes like the amount of time it spends explaining things could have been slightly better. Not being as much of an issue at all with Hope and Fear, though. I feel like they have learned on it and fixed it, but Hope and Fear also just has way less finicky things in it and less rules and stuff like that. So, and I think when I look at this, I look at it from the perspective that the only time I try to move without performing an action is during someone else's action, and I'm just trying to get into a better position as a martial character. Yeah, and I think the best argument for someone to say I'm wrong here is that I use the word combat, but you can be in combat. You know, you can be on a battlefield and not be in danger and not be under pressure. So like if there's a big monster, but it's got its back turned to you and it's fighting a bunch of other people and you want to move 20 feet, what could go wrong? You know, like I'm not under any pressure. Technically, rules as written, that should be a free movement. You should be able to move for free. I would argue that if you are in combat, then there's probably pressure of some kind at all times, but I could understand why someone would come at me being like, "No, you can move for free if you're not under pressure, whether you're in combat or not, so you're wrong." But even then, if you're not under any pressure at all in a combat scene, and I could argue that, well, you can just move, you can move further. that rolling then. Like, if nothing's going to stop you, if there's not going to be any issues, then, yeah. But I think you've got to take and twist this in a way that is like, you're trying to argue your point, and I look, it's buttoned up, okay? It's good. Yeah, no, I already have the title, NS Man, of this video, and it is, and this is true at the time that I wrote this title, because obviously I've added this comment explaining it, right? So now anyone who looks at this can go down and kind of figure out the answer from this. So I think this is going to change. But at the time when I actually saw this, before I kind of gave the answer away, the title is going to be 87% of people get this Daggerheart rule wrong. In brackets, really. And it was true. 87% of people got this Daggerheart rule wrong. Now it's 86%. So it's course correcting. Funnily enough, there's been like, since this, there's been 50 other people answering. So it's kind of an interesting spread. Oh, you know what's weirder as well? See if this is still the case. I did another post. Choose your Daggerheart side, hope and fear. 50-50.